Eden here with Spiritual Boom, and I mean boom, guys. We're recording this on November 7th, and midterms happen tomorrow. So we're going to take some deep dives in here and in the wings. And knowing now that we're recording this via video and on podcast, so I have to get used to kind of that as well. So in the wings, and you can see her if you're watching this on video, Anastasia awaits. She is in Greece. She is a transformational healer and uses Akashic Records, among other aspects, to show truths and create deep healing. So please say hello, and we'll get more into depth in just a second. Hi.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Eden. Nice to be here with you.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to talk just a little bit. All right, so we have midterms here tomorrow. And from what I understand, where America goes through all of this, everybody else will follow. And not saying that America is, oh, we're so important, but this is just how it is right now. So just to give you a heads up of what might come down the pipe, I've heard that Trump might be arrested, Pelosi might become president. So, and there could be blackouts. So just get prepared, or it could be really gentle. And for Brazil, if y'all have heard, on November 4th, fraud was declared in terms of the voting. I'm going to read this for a second. There were massive protests, and the Ministry of Defense, under Article 142, has issued arrest warrants against leaders of the Supreme Federal Court, Supreme Electoral Court. Now there is temporary closure of the National Congress. They have declared martial law and the transfer of power to the Joint Chiefs of Staffs of the Armed Forces. Did you know about this?
No, that's news to me. Wow.
Yeah. It's amazing. So us in America can really relate to that because we had voter fraud recently. Okay, so as we've also talked about, and Anastasia and I are going to get into this more today, we are talking about right now this great awakening, the crumbling of financial institutions, of healthcare, of everything. So this is big, big stuff. Two other things I want to speak about before we get together. Podcasting this is on, I think, like 19 directories right now. I have it videoed on YouTube, BitChute, Rumble. I do this as a labor of love. I pay for it. Yet, if you want to contribute to some of this on Rumble, there is a donation box that goes through PayPal, and you can also PayPal me at eden@edenjustbe.com. And it's so funny. I'm trying to get rid of PayPal. Like my personal account, I stopped, and I had some credit with them as well, because wouldn't it be funny if y'all donated and then PayPal fined me $2,500 for delivering misinformation? How ironic that would be. Ha ha. And finally, I want to give a nod to upcoming guests. Again, we have a lovely guest coming up right now. Yet it's really neat how this is formulating itself out, knowing that Anastasia is only my fifth guest. All right, coming up, we have Pia Cullen and Lark Marr. They're also in Europe, and she's from Georgia, which is ironic, with Palladian Intel. Then Todd Wilcox, who is a radio host out of Utah, will be talking about his near-death experience, and we'll also be talking about shamanism. Then we're going to have Margie Flynn out of Arkansas, who is a Reiki master and constitutional goddess. Then Carrie Cassidy, who is also on the Truth Tour, who works with Project Camelot. She is a documentary filmmaker and investigative journalist. They have over 1,000 video interviews over the past 17 years, and they have over 70 million unique viewers worldwide. Okay, I'm dropping my paper and taking a breath. Ooh, because sometimes I can talk really fast. Okay. Hi there.
Hello. And your lineup of speakers sounded really interesting. Great.
I love that, because Carrie Cassidy, maybe I mentioned she was on the Truth Tour as well. So having these folks that are really out there and really well known, and then people who are not, I guess we could, like, I don't consider myself well known, but we all have a voice, and we all, so I want to first, can you state your full name?
Anastasia Salichou is how it sounds in Greek.
Nice. And tell everybody what you do.
So I am combining two healing aspects, one of coaching and one of energy healing. And through the energy healing aspect, I work mainly with the Akashic Records, as you mentioned before, which is a tool I love. And since I've heard about it, I was like, I'm going to learn that, even when I didn't know what it was. And so we're combining healing, basically, like it could be healing through past life regressions, through understanding what has happened to us, through trauma regression and healing, and combining it with aligned action, basically, because we need to combine action through our healing in order to bring change in our lives. So it's all about bringing change, finding confidence, finding our own truth, and what works for us, apart from outside of what society told us we should want and desire and do.
Yes. Can you explain to everybody what the Akashic Records are?
Yeah. The Akashic Records are basically an energetic database. It's a quantum database that is all around us and inside us. So we're connected to the Akashic Records all the time. And it has all the information of all souls from all time, past, present, future, about all of our choices, everything that has happened to us. By the way, I have my cat here, so he's a little bit needy. And so if you see any post coming out, it's him.
Got it.
And the Akashic Records are an amazing tool because they give us information outside of the perspective of ourselves. So they give us an objective information of what has happened to us and how it affects us and how to change it. That's why I love it, because sometimes through connecting with our higher self, sometimes gives us the perspective of the higher self. So the Akashic Records gives us a perspective of higher dimensions of where we can go, what we can achieve, who we can be, basically.
Okay, for someone who has no idea of what they are, you've given a lovely explanation. Can you make it even more basic and tell us how you tap into it?
Yes. So the idea of the Akashic Records is not new. It's something that has been going on through all of the ancient civilizations, like ancient Greeks, ancient Hindus, Buddhists. Everybody who was more esoteric was able to understand that there's a higher intel that holds information about everything. The Sanskrit word Akasa means soul book, or a library of souls, which means that you could say that each one of us has a book that says everything about us. How we tap into the Akashic Records is another story, because basically it's done through intention. Mm-hmm. So if we intend to connect to the Akashic Records, then it's done. Everybody has a soul book, let's say. Connecting to the Akashic Records, especially when we want to connect to our Akashic Records, is easy. Translating the information that we get from the Akashic Records and asking the right questions is the thing that needs practice and understanding, because we have to be very specific at what questions we ask and what they mean to us, and where we want to get, what kind of information we want to receive. Because the Akashic Records mirror the intention. So if we go into if we go into the Akashic Records with the intent to, with curiosity, let's say, let me see who I was in a past lifetime, just because. What we get is more need for curiosity. We want that answers. It will be confusing. Does it make sense? So yes. We have to be very specific at our intention, why we are connecting, what kind of questions are we asking, what do we want to receive from those questions, how open we are. So we have to kind of put our ego self on the side.
Yes.
In order to connect with the Akashic Records. And the questions and the intention is what is really important.
Okay.
there.
So I would add into that like experience in how long have you been doing this?
6 years now.
Okay. I would think
And
that
many lifetimes.
good. And I would think that experience with this would be key because the same thing with me. I hear information, yet I am key in this as well. Not just, oh, I'm hearing this and I'm just going to give you what I'm hearing. It comes to me and then I feel it, think about it, and process it out. I don't just spit out what comes.
Yeah.
So in terms of you asking specific questions, learning what those questions were, when you first started knowing that you've done this lifetimes ago, was it pretty easy for you?
I would say yes, because it needed practice, right? But coming in contact with other practitioners, I understand for some reason I could get what the Akashic Records are and work with the Akashic Records really fast. And I was really eager to learn it. So I was studying full time and learning because I really wanted to have this tool in my hands.
So when you get the information, do you see it? Do you feel it? Do you hear it? How does it come to you?
For me, my most empowered Claire is seeing. So I'm clairvoyant. So I'm basically the traditional psychic who sees visions and snippets of past lives and stuff like that. But when the image or the vision comes, then comes knowing. So I'm also claircognizant at the second level. So I get the vision and then I know what it means.
Nice. How, knowing that because I want to ask you in a minute about the Great Awakening, moving from 3D to 5D, also talking about the Akashic Records being very 5D oriented, if I'm saying that correctly. So knowing you've been doing this for 6 years and you're very interested in it, how did you know this was going to be your path? Or can you explain a little bit about you just going, oh, yes, that's me? How did it come to be?
Yeah. So it came step by step, I would say. The truth is that when I first heard of the term Akashic Records, I was like, what is that? I don't know what it is. I want to learn it. Okay. So a friend of mine had an Akashic Records reading and he told me it's the Akashic Records and stuff. I was like, what is that? And I was not into these things yet back then. So like I had the sole desire to learn it in this lifetime too.
Okay,
probably
so
the term woke up something within me, some kind of code or something.
Was this how old were you at this point?
Like 30.
Okay.
Like 10 years ago, something like that. But then my own journey led me because I started as a health coach, my career as a health coach, right? And I was really eager to learn more and help people with their health and help people with changing their diets and taking supplements that will help them and support them. And I thought that was my sole purpose, basically, right?
Right.
But then I came across with some clients that we did so much back and forth. Like we would change their diet and they would get inspired from our sessions together and they would make changes and then the next week fall back into the regular stuff. Right. And I knew there was something more than their diet. I knew that I couldn't help them because there was something mental, there was something going on, some kind of belief system that was holding them back. Or their self-worth or their belief about what they can do. So I started looking into how I can help them mentally and cognitively. And then one step led to another, one thing led to another. And I came across an advertisement on Facebook for a course in the Akashic Records. And I took the leap. And since the beginning of this journey, I knew that this is it for me. Like it was a soul instant connection. It was like, yes, that's what I was looking for.
And I would think you're unique also bringing in the health coaching aspect into it. Like that really combines a quite interesting dynamic. Would you agree with that or what would you say?
Yes. Nowadays I don't do health coaching, but I believe that we are a whole being, a holistic being, that I cannot distinguish between the physical, the mental, and the emotional that much that, let's say, science now does. They are all
Yes.
interconnected. And when we have trauma in the emotional or mental bodies for quite some time, it becomes physical.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to tackle it with physical aspects like diet and like what we do in our everyday lives and how we sleep and what kind of water we're drinking and so on. But we also need to look at the root cause of what caused it, because there's always an explanation in the energetic field too of what's happening to us. If we have a liver issue, there's some anger in there. Definitely. It's also what we are eating, but it's also what we are downloading as information into the body.
Yes. Okay. Tell me, Woooo, how did you become awakened to everything that is going on in the world? So I started going into this, doing this podcast, gently coming into it. So I will go ahead and state, I believe, and no, I guess that's the best way to say it, that, you know, in terms of the Illuminati, in terms of the Cabal, in terms of the New World Order, and we haven't really pinpointed a lot of these things. Like there, 2 episodes ago, I listed a whole bunch of stuff for links for people to research on their own. Okay, tell me where you are and how you started seeing that this was what was going on in the world.
I guess that's an interesting question, because it wasn't a linear way that I came into this. Because like when I was like 16, 15, I was reading books about aliens and how the Sumerians have like these kind of hieroglyphics that show spaceships and stuff. That to me it made sense that what historians tell me is not really the whole truth of things. Like there are some things in my mind that were not really explained with history, in terms of history that we learn at school. So I was looking there, and then I came across, I remember when like I was a teenager, I came across some of David Icke's videos online. I was like, oh, that's interesting.
Awesome.
Yes. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. There's people who basically love Satan, but probably doesn't affect us. Like if we don't listen to that music, if we don't see those video clips.
I'm going to add this in there. Do you know that David Icke used to be spit on when he would walk down the street?
Yeah.
I mean, this man has just, he's
inspiring.
He is inspiring, and he has been hated. He has been, and he keeps, and now he's revered and listened to, and finally. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, finally. I wouldn't want his life, to be honest, because he's been through a lot.
Yes.
At the same time, very exciting life, I guess, but it needs a very strong person, a very strong soul to get to do this, to get this soul contract of going out there and for 30, 40 years or whatever, being ridiculed.
Yes.
Nonstop. And now I heard that he's 26 countries in Europe. They have banned him from traveling to them. So
really?
Yeah. Because he wanted to go to a peace rally in the Netherlands, and the Netherlands said you cannot come. And then 26 other countries in Europe, probably Greece too, I would think, were in this. Said you cannot come to us, because I don't know the excuse, but it seems that they can do whatever they want. So that's something that should awaken us into the potentiality of too much power into governments.
Right. Why are they so scared of this man just
very scared.
His opinion?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't quite realize that. Okay, so he's still going. Well, that makes sense, being banned and being censored
Yeah.
and so he's still going through it, but yet he is very much more supported than he had been in the past.
Yeah.
Okay. Keep going, girl. Love this train.
So, I watched a bunch of videos. I was into it. I learned a lot, but then I stopped because I went to college. I went into working and stuff like that. So life went on without me looking into these things too deeply.
Mm-hmm.
One moment of awakening was 2009 when I watched a video of Bill Gates on TEDx or whatever.
Yes.
Where he said through vaccines and medicine and stuff like that, we are going to reduce the population of the earth. And I was like, I could feel my brain being, vaccines kill? How do we reduce the population with vaccines?
Mm-hmm.
I don't get that. I left it at that because it didn't make sense.
You were like, what? Okay.
I was like, what? Yeah. And then since then, I put Bill Gates in a category of a person who I don't understand and I don't trust. And then I went into health coaching where there was a lot of awakening there.
Okay, like give me an example.
Like the big pharma making people take drugs that don't heal people, that especially with chronic issues, big pharma doesn't have any solutions for people. The actual solution come with changing habits and changing the way we eat, the way we think, the way we feel, and healing ourselves. So I saw how people progress from taking one drug to help them mitigate one issue and then taking another drug because the first drug created another issue, and then taking a third drug because the second drug created another issue. And like, how does this even work? And of course, with the whole shots thing, I dove into this information and heard about from women, from mothers whose children changed after the shots. And I was like, okay, that's very weird. So I started not trusting big pharma on what they tell me.
And did you have clients?
I don't even want to start with antidepressants and stuff like that.
So how, I've had clients in the past that are on certain medications and they, in a sense, wouldn't go off them, and it's challenging to watch that when they feel like this is such a necessary part, because we've been trained to believe that too. You have to take this drug. And then there are those drugs that once you start, you can't stop taking them. And in terms of all this gender stuff, and once you start taking blockers or whatever, you're not supposed to stop. And I don't know what happens to your body if you stop. What have you seen? Is it challenging when someone comes to you?
It can be challenging, definitely. With some drugs, it can be very, very challenging to get off of them, like antidepressants or drugs that are not meant to be taken for too long. I mean, antidepressants there so you don't kill yourself. Mm-hmm. But then you have to take action in order not to kill yourself without them. And people stay on them for like years and years and years, and then they cannot get off of them.
Or if they try and get off, they have major
effects. And
effects.
then there's hormonal therapies. Yes, major effects. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's a trap. It's a trap sometimes. And I've also heard my clients say, okay, my doctor told me there's no way I can heal this thing. And I was like, okay, watch us.
Oh, gosh.
And we healed it.
Yep. Yeah.
As much as they did to me, I had some issues that they said, oh, you cannot do anything about that. I was like, that's pathetic. How can someone tell me I cannot do anything about that?
I love that. That's pathetic. It is pathetic. No hope, right?
Yeah. And then I found a way.
Okay, I want to go back to the Akashic Records quickly.
Yeah.
All right, so we all have a book about us, and knowing that we have free will and knowing that we can change things and alter. So how complete is the book? Does that make sense with that question?
The book is basically energetic, right? So it's changing all the time. When we go into the Akashic Records and we do healing, a past life regression, it adjusts to the healing we did. So the way that it affects us, it changes.
Okay.
Instead
Perfect.
of disempowering us, now it's empowering. As far as the future, it's not set. So there's like, depending on our free will and our choices into the here and now, it changes the timelines that we can go into. But
nice.
we can, through the Akashic Records, we can look into the future, like, okay, from the perspective of the present moment and with the actions I'm doing now, where am I going to be in 5 years, let's say. You can see that, more or less, right? But if you change actions now, it changes. So there's no future set in stone, basically.
Okay. Nice explanation. All right. Thank you for that little moving from your noticing your awakening. Okay. So let's go back to that, noting that you had seen that big pharma and children getting vaccinations. I loved your word pathetic. Okay. Keep rolling with that. What transitions or what came next?
And then the big one was February of 2020, where I think it was Italy first in Europe, things were shutting down. I was like, what is going on? That's not for a virus. There's no way it's for the virus. There's no way they're losing money for the virus. So, and then I started looking more into what could be going on. And I was looking into it through the perspective of the Akashic Records too. And well, there's yin and yang, there is positive and negative souls, and negative souls thrive on having the control and manipulating and spreading fear. So it makes total sense.
Okay, so can you tell us more about what you see through the records?
So each soul, like, let's take it from the soul perspective, right? Each soul has a polarity, let's say. Some souls are of the polarization of positive, which means they can create, they get energy from the universe, from the creator, God, source, you can call it the way it works for you. But and there is the souls that are negative. Doesn't mean necessarily bad. It means that they negate energy, they absorb energy. They are not able to create, they are only able to manipulate, to distort. They're taking what positive souls are creating and distorting it in order to suit themselves. Some of these souls are attracted to a lot of power, so they incarnate themselves in royal families and really, really rich families. So they have this control. They attract that, they get it. They have this control over others. And there's those souls of that incarnate in humans, that they think that other people are lesser than. Does it make sense? Like lesser than them. So they can do whatever they want to them, on them.
Yes. Tell us.
Yeah.
Oh, keep. Is there anything else? Because I might be interrupting you.
That's. I hope that makes sense. That basically, that's the nutshell of how it works in the Akashic Records as information. And of course, there's more there, but.
Okay. So you and I met. I was thinking about how long ago it was. What was it? 7 or 8 years ago? Something like that.
Yeah.
So you were in the States. I had a class. You came to the class. We met there. Now, at this point, you see some clients that I see as well, which is awesome. And now, how long have you been back in Greece? And when you were in the States, it wasn't for it was for a short period of time. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was like there for at most 3 months at a
Okay.
time, and then would come back to Greece. It was great. I loved it.
Okay. Well, how's it going in Greece? Because I know y'all had some like your lockdowns were longer, or yeah, tell me
Yeah,
about what's going on
strict
there
and
now.
longer. Yeah, we had lockdowns where we had to send a message, a text to the government to say, "Hello, I'm going outside to go to the drugs, to the grocery store, to the pharmacy, and place." Like it was
Wait,
crazy.
wait a minute. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
yeah, we had to text. Otherwise, we would get a fine if the police stopped us, and we didn't text. Yeah.
So you had a number everybody used. Oh,
Yes.
hey, I'm going to the grocery store. And when you went,
Yes.
you had to wear a mask and just otherwise you'd be fined with that.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
How long did that go on?
The first time it was like 4 or 5 months,
Oh my
4 months,
gracious.
and the second one was 6 months.
Oh, oh, I'm getting a little,
Yeah.
oh. So
And the
how,
third one was only
oh,
for the unvaccinated ones because we couldn't go to the restaurants and bars and places and cafes at all.
how, how did you deal with that? Also being an awakened person, I didn't realize it was that extreme.
Yeah.
Oh my gracious. How'd you deal with it? What'd you do?
Um, I made a lot of new friends and I strengthened my relationships with existing ones that are also understanding what's going on. So we met at our houses and we had dinners and danced, or we went outside where we were allowed to go, and we met and danced, and we got together like that, which was awesome.
So when y'all went to
But
each other's houses, did you have to tell the government I'm leaving to go to so and so's house? Like
so
how?
that was on the third stage
Okay.
where only the unvaccinated were basically not allowed to go into closed spaces, but we were allowed to go into other people's houses. So that's what we did. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay. Wow. I feel like I need to just sit with that for a second, realizing how that is so atrocious.
Yeah. Yeah, and so many people complied with that, and they were like, "Yeah, it's fine." I was like, since the beginning of this whole thing, when they said we're going into lockdown for 2 weeks, I was like, "This is traumatic for people. This will
Mhm.
have consequences,
A huge effect. Yes.
even for 2 weeks." And then it went on, like the way they did it in the US and everywhere. Oh, another 2 weeks, another 2 weeks, another 2 weeks, and so on. And I could feel the mental and emotional bodies of people going crazy, not because of the fear, of course, but also because they thought that other people are their death, basically. Our main issue as society is separation.
Yes.
So separating humans even more, I was like, what are we doing? Why are we saying yes to this? This is going to create so many problems and issues. Yeah, it was difficult for me sometimes because of the attacks I got. Of course, I was attacked by people very close to me too.
Okay. Can you go because you didn't want to get vaccinated? Go into more detail with that.
Because I would say that this is not because of a virus. I would say that
Yes.
it's not like locking people down is not it's not a solution. It's going to create more problems than it solves. And so people were like, okay, you're not supposed to talk. Please shut up. Don't speak.
Yes.
And all of these things, all of these nice things that they used to tell us, and now they want damnation for them. They want us to forgive them for that. I saw an article like that. Okay, like, let's forget everything that happened during COVID era. No, we're not going to forget.
Are you talking about the one specifically that was in the Atlantic, Pandemic
Yes.
Amnesty? Oh,
Yes.
yes. I attempted to rejoin
No.
Twitter just to comment to that, but then it's really interesting because Elon Musk took it over, which apparently he's a white hat. But yet, I got a message from them that something's wrong with your account. You need to give us a phone number. So I'm like, I'm still hanging out there in terms of Elon, in terms of, I'm suddenly like, I don't think I'm gonna. Why do you need my phone number? So you can track
that's
me.
weird.
So you can, yeah. So yeah, I also, as you, going through all this with heart and with love, yet people have died. I mean, there are tragic things that have happened that I think the author of that article too, she doesn't realize everything yet. And all of this just can't be swept under the rug because people have also been hurt. And I don't know what the answer is to that because I know, there've been talk of executions and that have already happened. I'm still feeling my way through that. Do you have any response to that as well?
It depends on the person. Like if somebody says, okay, let's forget everything that happened, I'm like, no.
Yes.
If you forget, you're not learning the lesson. And if something like that happens again, you, the person who says, let's forget, you're going to do the same thing over and over again. I don't trust you.
Mm-hmm.
So the people that will tell me, I have some friends that now, like, they got side effects and they were into this, and I was avoiding them for 2 years because I didn't want to go into fighting with them or being attacked, right? And now they say there was no way you could know. Yes, there was. There were plenty of ways you could know.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as people don't get that, similar things can happen again, and they can attack their fellow citizens because they are being manipulated by media. So they have to go into the understanding of how they were manipulated. Mm-hmm. So we get into the point where, yes, I forgive you for, like, if you attacked me, or the people that lost their jobs, or they were not, like, they were isolated or ridiculed and stuff. Like, people have lost their accounts with thousands of people, followers, their whole whole work and stuff, like lots of money, or their lives too, right?
Yes.
Which is the most important thing. We cannot just go into, okay, let's forget all about it. How is humanity going to learn if we just erase everything that happened? How are we going to celebrate each other and respect each other if we don't acknowledge what happened? Mm-hmm. It means that we want to sweep things under the rug and not take responsibility about things.
Exactly. And
I don't trust that.
Yes. I don't either. And you're right. There is grief. There is pain. Again, this is like isolating ourselves once again, basically throwing away the connection and just being like, oh, we just went through this major thing together, but we're not even going to connect with it. We're not going to honor it. We're not going to grieve it. We're not going to, so maybe someone hurt you or someone criticized me and suddenly, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know any better. What?
And you know what's the next step after that? The next step is this gaslighting idea of, well, why are you holding a grudge? Aren't you a spiritual person who should forgive everybody? Why are you being so mean?
That's a great one.
Why don't you just forgive people for making mistakes? Mm-hmm. So great way to use, spiritual authority and the ideas of spiritualism, or forgiveness and understanding and respect and love, mm-hmm. into making people forget what has happened. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Oh, that was brilliantly put. And I'm assuming that will come my way at some point. So thank you also for giving me a heads up. Because I did have that happen once before in seeing all the narcissism in the world. I had someone who was a dear friend of mine suddenly come up to me, and I realized all the narcissism that was there. And that person came back to me a couple months later, basically going, "Hey, why don't we forgive and forget?" And I was like, I'm totally forgiving it, yet I can't go back to the way things were because I have seen something major that doesn't energetically fit with me. So it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
What would you, in terms of as more and more is about to come out and be exposed, knowing that there's going to be this people going off the rocker, what would you encourage for them in terms of finding balance, in terms of finding peace? What would you recommend through this? Because we're still in the storm.
We're still in the storm, and there's a lot more to come.
Yes.
And unfortunately, I see that there's a lot of people that will kind of, I don't know if they will ever see what's going on because they really, really, really don't want to.
Right.
So I don't know exactly how it's going to play out. I don't think anyone does. Like when I look into the Akashic Records, like a book changing its pages, it changes all the time because the agendas change and how it's going to play out and how we react change. But for the people who get it and the people who are going to get it in the future, I want to tell everybody that we are supported. Ask for support, energetic support, spiritual support, support from other people. Know that since you know and you understand, it's kind of good to be prepared for everything, but at the same time for nothing. Like being in that space of, I'm prepared if something really bad happens, but I hope it doesn't. So I'm going to be protected anyway, whatever happens. So not going into the fear mode,
right,
which attracts more of what we don't want, right? But but it's important to acknowledge that, yeah, more things will happen. Like I'm expecting that coming heavy winter in Europe, we will have great issues, big issues with energy, right? We might get really cold. So I kind of need to be prepared for that.
Right.
But without going into, oh my God, what's going to happen? Am I going to, I don't know, die of hunger or of cold? I'm not. I'm going to be supported and I'm going to find ways, just like we did with the lockdowns, right? We found ways to come together and have fun. And I made a lot of really good friends. Like we came closer to with you, Aidan, with many other people. So although I thought that I might be very isolated and lonely and alone, I met some really amazing people through that. So it was difficult, but at the same time amazing. So it's like the polarities are way far now. Like it can be people can be really struggling and people can have amazing time, and maybe for some people it's at the same time struggling and having an amazing time at the same time. It can happen, but we're supported. So that's the big takeaway, I guess, I get from this. There will always be choices and ways. We might need to be uncomfortable, but we'll find new ways to deal with those things.
I so love that. And that is what the meditation is going to be on in a second. Support. Oh, I had a good question for you. Oh, or just to state and see what you think about it. I also believe that there's going to need to be a little bit of a shock for people to see things. Otherwise, just like you said, they're going to continue to bypass this. So I think there's going to need to be something that people cannot deny And some people still will, yet in terms of really getting the masses on board. So I don't know what that's going to look like, if that's going to be a power outage, if I'm curious as to what's going to be exposed, but yet knowing things still need to be gentle and but I don't know how gentle things need to be. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. I don't know, because at the beginning, people were saying, there will be this revelation that will show things to people and they will believe it, and it will be a huge turnaround of the energy. Right. There is energetically looking at humanity, this is not possible, because humanity doesn't want that. Most of humans do not want to move.
Right.
They don't want to move energetically. So there is no way we, the awakened, or whatever we call ourselves, the people who understand, I don't know how much we understand. Probably there's a lot more to understand, yes. But we kind of get a little bit more of the perspectives.
Yes.
There is no way yet we can push humanity and people to just open their eyes like that. We cannot do that because it's their free will not to. So I guess it's soft awakenings and exposures that get people to over and over again, that get some people to that are on the threshold, like the 30% that were, I don't know, I'm not sure, that to lean over to understanding that there's more. I don't see how some of the people will see, because it will be a huge attack on their ego and their identities.
Yes.
That I don't think they can handle that. Maybe it will take years until they get there. So it probably will take years until, if we ever go into the whole humanity understanding what's going on.
Oh man, how is Greece right now? How are y'all doing?
I think that right now, like, we have a very, very corrupt, very psychopathic government. Seriously, like, I've never seen something like that before. They think that they cannot be harmed in any way. They can do whatever they want and get away with it, because they have put the laws in place where nobody can attack them. Basically, nobody can sue them. Nobody can do anything to them. Which is
just
crazy.
Like the pharmaceutical companies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Basically,
wow.
When they are politicians, they have alienation, and we cannot. Is it the right word? Like, they cannot be sued. They cannot be.
Like
brought into court.
Or oh wow.
So they do whatever they want, basically. And there are a lot of scandals around pedophilia. Many of them are linked directly to the government, but of course the judges are not touching that, so they cover it. I would think that they are either into this or they are being manipulated. So, but people are getting more and more upset, I think, with this, because there's one scandal after the other coming out. Okay. So they're like, okay, how many scandals before you get really punished? So I would think that some people are really upset with that. And some of the people are like, well, that's how politicians are, so we cannot do anything about that, which is crazy.
And how bankruptcy, how's the financial system going there?
For now, we're playing it, we're covering it very well. Like, we're in worse financial terms than before our bankruptcy. So we're holding it together because the government is favoring World Economic Forum and stuff like that. So we're not being attacked in that way now, but I don't expect it to last for long. Like, it's crumbling. And everything, like, you also have inflation rising, and it's crazy that, like, the prices are going up every day. So there's a lot of people who are frustrated and upset with that. But it's interesting because Greeks as a nation, we think that we are rebels and we are tough and we have power and stuff like that. But it's weird because we are the most compliant country in Europe.
Wow.
Seriously.
All right. Let me ask you this last question.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to tell our listeners in terms of what's going down the pipe? Yeah. Any final words? This was wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing what you have already.
Yeah, you're welcome. I guess what I said before, ask for help, for spiritual help, ask for guidance. Go within to see what's true for you and what makes sense for you to do and how to keep yourself sane and safe, and trust that all will be well and you will be supported. I think that's important.
Beautiful. And to put it out there, Anastasia and I are here for you to help you ride the storm, because we are at the end of the day peaceful, trusting in God, knowing what is happening and being okay with it in a sense. Okay, you lovely. Thank you so much for your time. I love your background. I don't know. Namaste.
Namaste. You're welcome. I really enjoyed that. Thank you. Thank you, Eden. Yay. Bye, everyone.
So cool of you to be here. My intention is not only to share my voice, but to have fun and be vulnerable, all the things. Therefore, like and subscribe or put your comments here if this is a commentable podcast channel, acknowledging what you enjoyed or maybe what you would like more of. My plan is to come out with a new episode by Wednesday of each week. And to let you know, I've gotten back on the Facebook animal with the singular purpose of being the light that cannot be stopped. I'm also on Instagram, so connect to me at Eden Cause. Also, right now, YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, True Social. Oh, Lordy, more to come.